Come here now, girl.
Hello and welcome to What's Map, your one-stop shop for everything workshop. I'm BonBonB and you're very, very welcome. Right, we are still in the midst of our content creator map pack special. We've already had a look at the European maps and at the tropical maps, and today we are off to the northern climes for the Boreal maps. One more set to come after today's show. That will be the temperate, and that will hopefully be on Sunday of next week. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, now will be a very good time to do so. So yes, all these maps made by Sanctum Gamer for the DLC from Colossal Order Stroke Paradox, and all of them are strong maps. So it's not a single bad map in the pack, and the map pack that we've seen so far is definitely worth thinking about, especially if you are a console player or just play with vanilla, no mods. Right, before we have a look at today's first map, I want you to ready yourself. There is one little task for you to do. That's right, clicking that like button really does support the channel, gets me seen by more people and helps me grow a little bit more every single day. Thank you for your support. Today's first of the two maps is Meandering River by Sanctum Gamer. Yes, Sanctum Gamer is responsible for every map in the map pack, which of course is both a strength and a downfall for the pack itself. There's your start square. Like most of the other ones, very, very similar. Railway running through it, and we have plenty of flat land as well. If you've got airports DLC, that's a bit of a bonus. There's your entire map as a whole. Then we have resources. Resources are pretty strong. A little bit of oil there as well. I'm okay with that. Just a hint in the 25 tiles of oil. And if you've got Sunset Harbour and want to do some fishing, well, it's mostly salmon for you guys. Let's go down to ground level and have a little look. Now, as always, we've got one or two trees just underneath the road. The sort of thing that I think if Sanctum Gamer was doing this for a workshop release, these ones would have been picked up on. Also, a little bit of glitching between the roads there for elevation changes. Well, that's another thing that out here on a 25 tile vanilla play, you're never going to notice. So I think those sort of things with the trees out there and a little bit of glitching out there, they're kind of sins that can be overlooked. It's not a big problem given what the requirement for the maps were. And of course, having to produce so many maps in such, well, I say not a short period, so I'm sure they were given plenty of time to do it, but it can take a year to make a map. There are some creators out there who are releasing just a map a year. And we have other things to do in life rather than just play Cities Skylines. So to produce 8 maps in quick succession for a DLC pack, there are going to be one or two things that are being missed. Like, again, we've got a little bit of a glitch between the two highways there, which is in the 25 tiles and probably would have been picked up again had they been taking their time and just doing the one map rather than 8. Start square intersection. It's a bit of a trumpet there. I've got a little grumble about the bends on the road here. Again, I mean, it's Cities Skylines, it doesn't matter at all. But true realism, I think that would have been smoothed out a little bit, the on-ramp. But again, it's pretty slick. It's pretty slick. And then we have the two lines go. Also, the ramps there, they look a bit awkward. I think I might come back and just tinker with that a little bit later on the fly through. The lane merges are fine. Again, vanilla fine. And then that takes you down into the start square, which is cool. I say vanilla fine because on the workshop, we're used to seeing highly polished intersections and lane merging, which is smooth and slick. And what you're seeing there is absolutely fine. Again, more glitching in the start square in the 25 tiles between the two highways. Again, not a big problem. Certainly not going to affect a vanilla play. And a few trees actually in the 25 tiles underneath the highways. Now, if you're playing vanilla, you're never going to see these trees. It's only because I am playing modded game, showing what is hiding underneath the highways. They're part of the tree count. We are well within the tree limit, so don't fret on that one. Sanctum's a good creator. They've been told to keep the tree count down. This is some of the things we're looking for, and of course, being a good creator, they've managed to achieve all of those objectives. But yes, every single tree in the map, every single tree in the map pack, every single map in the map pack. Let's have a little look at the rail. Has a similar vibe, and I like the fact that they have the same thing, which is the one highway. Every single map has one highway running across the length of the map, and it ties them all in together. It's kind of a signature move. I kind of like that. There are one or two of the maps where I would like to have seen an extra highway or two thrown in. But of course, highways and rail. But putting in the networking is probably the most time-consuming part of any map build. To do it to a high standard, of course. You can draw a highway through very, very quickly indeed. Right, we've got a little railway bridge here. Looks potentially like some blue mantle. And there's not. So there's that, but that looked like we may have had a little bit of rip in the terrain mesh. However, I'm happy to say that Sanctum Gamer has done a good job there. So credit where it's due. Little things. It's just sometimes little things that don't get mentioned. We pull up things that aren't good. Oh, there's a little bit of blue mantle. Just a blink of blue mantle just under there, where the terrain has been ripped through. Of course, blue mantle is actually the sky showing through the terrain mesh, but we won't worry too much about that. Anyway, the rail's fine. Rail runs through the start square as well, which means if you want to get started with an early rail play, you can on this particular map. Right, we've got shipping routes on today's map. On today's first map, we've got just a simple one here. We do have a right angle turning there. It's moderately deep in the fog, so you may not notice it. But again, shipping triangles are always better for keeping things nice and slick. So there's that. Water flow. Oh, of course, there are air routes as well. Goes without saying there. And there's good strong water flow through the start square as well, if that's what you're looking for. In fact, I think slightly stronger water flow on that start square than in the second map, which we'll see very shortly. Overall, I like the shape. In fact, both the maps are very similar. I like the shape. I'm liking the shape of the river. And the overall design, the aesthetics on both the maps are pretty strong. The design and the aesthetics are both pretty strong. Good shapes of mountains. Very Boreal mountains. Subtle usage of trees. We're not talking about next level tree painting here, but decent enough tree painting. Certainly nothing that you're going to find too offensive on the eye while you're playing. And we do have a little bit of rock work over here as well, like the old cave there. And just subtle use of the rocks. Do you know what? I don't mind that at all. That's way out in the fog as well, so maybe a little bit of a distance view going on there. And then we have, if we go down to the start square area, liking the river in the start square area. It's almost like both boggy and rocky as well at the same time. It's untamed, an untamed river. I kind of like that. Now, I did say talk about these ramps. Do you know what? I'm gonna tinker with these ramps. I just want to see. There are mods that will allow us to do that. I mean, you can use Move It Slope Tool, but let me just see what I can do if I pull those back to there, and those two, I'll move them back to about there. And do you know what? I'm going to say that is sufficiently better without even using the slope tool with him Move It. There are other options available, of course. But yeah, I think that's just little things. It's just the wee little things, you know. But yes, it's a valley with a river running through it in a Boreal setting. Interesting enough city build if you're going to be doing a river build. And again, it's going to work fine. It's a bit bog standard, but bog standard is not a bad thing when it's well done. And I would class this as a well done map. Not super exciting. Do maps need to be? Not really. Meandering River, Sanctum Gamer, that's the first of our two maps. Now the second one, you can look at this and say there's some similarities to this. Only instead of having one river running through a valley, we've kind of got two rivers running through the valley. This one is a little bit different in the way it's been shaped and formed, so you're going to get a slightly different city build shape going on here. It also has, I'm going to say, almost a fantastical element about one aspect, and that be the right hand river as you're looking at it, but we'll get down there to have a look at that in a moment. Big chunk of this is mountains. I feel possibly a little bit more creativity could have been done in the design to allow for maybe a bit of buildable space on, say, on the left-hand side of the left-hand river there. Would have been a nice thing, possibly. But this one is River Valley Plain by Sanctum Gamer. Sanctum Gamer. Keep saying Sanctum Gamer. Do check out their workshop as well for a lot of their earlier work. They are a very accomplished city builder as well, actually, for that matter. And there's your start square. Again, I mean, it's a slightly different shape from the first one, but it's a similar sort of concept. Terrain heights on this one. Yeah, it's a plain with a valley and a river. It's all there, you know. There's your resources, bit of field painting, but you know what, it works and I'm happy with that. It looks good to me. And then if you have Sunset Harbour and you want to do some fishing, we actually have pretty much everything you could want in there, including upstream tuna. Alright, let's go down and have a little fly over of this map. And it's gonna feel very samey. I hate to say samey because samey sounds like a bit negative, but again, I was expecting to a degree that there would be maybe, we've got 8 maps in the map pack, and to create 8 completely different visions, I mean, that's a stretch. Every time a map maker, even one of the top map makers, goes about making a new map, I think in their head they're going, I've got to make this one different, I've got to do something a bit different, otherwise it'll be just another variant of what I was making. This map does feel very similar in a lot of ways to the previous one, but making 8, I expected 4 or 5 of them even to be meh, ordinary, straightforward, with a few thrown in just to mix things up. Maybe even for one of the maps to have been a bad map. I was expecting that. You can have 8 maps, one of them's going to be I don't think there are any bad maps in the map pack. They are all, at the very least, decent, and I would say that all of them are way better than what we would have expected if it was coming out of in-house, if you know what I mean. They're great games developers. They are great games developers. Map designers, less so, which is why I applaud that they've actually turned to the community and asked anybody in the community, Sanctum Gamer or anybody, there's your start square. That looks interesting and fun. Big hunk of forest right in front of the highway, though. I think I would have liked a little bit more clear air. Also, we have some trees under the highway in the start square intersection. Oh, tut. Again, I think that's something that they would have picked up on had they had fewer maps to make at the same time. What I think would have been nice, and again, not that I'm begrudging Sanctum Gamer any of their efforts here, would have been for maybe 4 different creators to produce 2 maps each. So maybe going to a Cities and say, could you make us 2 temperate maps? Coming to Sanctum Gamer, can you make us 2 Boreal maps? Going to Anapu Marinageru and say, could you make us 2, and so on, and so on. And picking 4 different creators, that would give the creators a little bit more time, and we could have had some bit more wow factor, I feel, in some of the maps. Whilst keeping them completely vanilla. Yes, there was another tree underneath the road there. But again, you're playing vanilla, you will not be seeing those. If you're playing with Anarchy, you have the option of switching that on or off anyway. And of course, there is always the bulldozer. Always the bulldozer. Anyway, the rail. The rail is really exciting here, as you can see. But I'm going to show you the biggest sin in what map. Here it comes. A gash there of Blue Mantle. That is the biggest sin in What map. I'm sorry. There is no excuse for ripping the terrain mesh of... I have a tutorial to avoiding that one. I might even link it in. If you're watching this and you've no idea about ripping terrain mesh. I mean, it looks pretty buildable. I like. Do you know what? We could follow the rail to the end, but we're going to be seeing much of this all the way across. The river... Untamed. This one feels a little bit light for water at this end. It just feels it. It's just a wild, winding. I mean, it looks like it should be quite a lot of water flow going through there, doesn't it? It looks wild and winding. Coming down to sort of like a lakey area where the water should slow down in the middle. And then we have over here, a lakey section over here as well. Again, Imagine building around this. It's going to be stunning. But remember I said about fantastical. Well, we've got the river coming down from the mountain here, and this is very wide and a lot of water pouring out of that. I mean, a lot of water pouring out of that. Pouring into that lake. I mean, that's got to be torrents. It has to be absolute torrents going on there. Start square. This intersection here, in a previous thing, I suggested somewhere that I felt that the second tile there would be okay. The second tile, I was concerned that there was going to be a limited amount of buildable second tile. It is only that one there on the bottom right as we were looking at that would be an issue. No shipping routes today on this map, but we do have a good strong air route. A water flow in the start square. Why you're expecting torrents? It's very light until you get to the lakey part. It's counterintuitive. I've found this a little bit with Sanctum's maps. It's a bit. You're gonna have to be a bit careful with your sewage outflows on this one. You can avoid polluting your people, but just be very careful with it from the off. Got a few drowned trees. Yes, they are wearing their trunks. They have their trunks on. And then we have more mountains. These ones, there's actually a bit of plateau up there. If you're playing with a mod to get you into the 81 tiles, you can get up and build into that if you really wanted to. I still feel these are mostly intended only for backdrop, and so they're not a big deal for me. They look pretty decent from the valley. All told though, it's a really interesting shape map, and I feel this is similar to the first map that we saw today. It's pretty playable. Both of them have a good vibe. They both have a decent aesthetic to them, and they're both strong Boreal maps. So River Valley Plain by Sanctum Gamer is definitely a bit of a tick in my book for this one. Surely not the most exciting, and I do feel that the first of the two maps is probably a stronger map, but this one's probably a little bit more interesting. But it does have one or two, like I say, minor iffy bits about it. Let's go iffy. Let's call it fantasy bits. Fantasy is a word that gets you out of all sorts of holes in Cities Skylines map building. Anyways, that is about it for today. Again, join me next Sunday where we'll have a look at the temperate maps. There are two more to check, and then I promise you we'll get back to some decent tutorials. It's been a long time since I've made a decent tutorial, and I have got some ideas. An interesting one. I think we'll start with something just a little bit quirky before we get into the depths of the important stuff. Anyway, I've been BonBonB. You've been very, very welcome. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again very, very soon.